and where it's fun and it's a time for the child to really have fun with their parents. The mom and dad, they're busy, the kids are busy. And if that's a moment when the family can be together, that in itself is a huge motivation for the kid. This is when the kid can show off. This is when the kid can feel like, oh, look, mom, look what I'm doing. And then the mom or dad will provide feedback, a positive feedback. And that in itself is going to be a huge motivator. Now, so that's the more natural way of having that extrinsic motivation for a kid who is seeking attention from parents and who's also needing the parents' engagement. So you can do that. Maybe some kids really maybe they have, something that they're working towards. You work, you do your job, then you'll get paid. So one of your jobs is to practice 20 minutes. Then if that's the case, hey, here's $1. So that's, again, an extrinsic motivation. It's only really for kids who really don't have that intrinsic motivation. We got to eventually create an opportunity for them to do the behavior of practicing so that eventually it becomes an intrinsic motivation.
So we're on live stream now. I just did it. So maybe I'm going to introduce, maybe we can start with the introduction. So I'm talking with Miss Kelly from Musical Munchkins, our lead teaching staff, and Elizabeth Kim, who is also who is my sister, but she's also very well recognized and has extensive experience working with children as a behavioral analyst. And we are doing this so that parents, if some parents have questions, they can also type in and ask questions. But mostly it is the guidance for our teachers and also ongoing issues on how to motivate our students during the time of the lockdown with the ongoing pandemic. Parents seem to have, they're exhausted from trying to get their kids to motivate and learn. And we as music teachers, we want our students to keep practicing. And so we're here with Elizabeth to discuss these. And yeah, so I am going to give the platform to Elizabeth. Maybe you can introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. So a quick background on myself. I have over 30 years of experience in working with children with challenging behaviors in various capacities, from ages 18 months old to 26 years. Mostly I worked in the field of behavior as a behavior analyst, and I'm a board certified behavior analyst. And as a behavior analyst, it's really a very compassionate place coming from the angle where every behavior has a purpose and an intention. It doesn't occur in a vacuum. So when we're able to look at some of the environmental factors and what's surrounding the behavior as to why a kid is behaving a certain way, we can come up with a really understanding place in getting our children to behave in a way that works for them. So I hope that I could answer some of your questions with some of the challenges that's going on with practicing, with motivation and engagement with parents in the time that's such very difficult, during quarantine and during Corona. So yeah, just go ahead and ask me some questions. I'll do my best in answering them.
So, so my biggest concern is how to keep structure, as what we always have been. I mean, one of the reasons that our students did so well is because our programs have always been very structured, and it brought the steadiness of everyday, classroom routine practicing. This was before the pandemic, but now this constant off and on lockdown, as much as it is tiring for parents and teachers, children and students are also experiencing this unstableness, bringing this inconsistency from being in person school to the online school, and then there is the piano lessons and music lessons online, everything. So this is the I guess we should just turn this around. We should talk about the how to motivate and how to keep students to keep practicing during the online time.
Okay, so basically you're asking how to keep structure in their home so that
Mhm.
they can practice and keep things consistent as much as possible.
Right, because as what Kelly was saying, we try to bring events like online events. We have piano concerts, we have talent show coming up, and trying to get these kids motivated because they have to have goals in order for them
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
practice. And as what we notice that as opposed to in-person classes or in-person concerts where they dress up and everything's prepared, they're fully prepared for their live presentation. Well, it's not like that, for the online event. They show up in their jammies and kind of like lazy and and
So I
so
think I think musical munchkins, I think you guys are actually doing an excellent job in being very creative. You guys are having online performances, really showing off their skills in whatever way possible. And about them being in jammies, I mean, we get what we get, right? And that's a as musical munchkins, the teachers can impose those rules. Oh, you need to wear this, you need to wear that. But it really ultimately falls on the child and the family to see if that is their priority. So, and that could be kind of a discussion that musical munchkins can have with the families. It's what do you think about having the child wear this and this and that so that they can look professional, presentable? But maybe that's not a big thing for them. Maybe having the child who is so resistant to even doing this to come in front of a camera in their jammies is what we're going to get. And I think sometimes that's okay. So again, it has to do with priorities. It has to do with what we can get from that child. If the child is even being willing to practice 10 minutes instead of 30 minutes, we need to take that and encourage them and have it not be a punitive experience. But hey, you were in your jammies, but I'm so glad that you showed up. Maybe next time we can do it, you wearing an outfit that you can really feel like a professional. Let's try that.
right. Hmm. Yeah.
But I
Okay.
think a discussion definitely needs to happen with the families and the teacher and kind of discussing these are the plans. Are you able to do this? Or is
Mhm.
this too much? And if it is, then hey, that's okay too.
Um, I have a question. What do you think about parents just completely opposing to participate online classes? I mean, it's not that we don't, it's not that we don't agree or disagree or whatever. But
Right.
there some parents are absolutely just really opposed to even bring their small children being in front
Mhm.
of screen, and so the idea
Mhm.
of having music class online is something that makes them really angry for some reason. So what do you think about that? Do you think it's really unhealthy?
I
uh,
think first of all, we need to ask the families. So tell me, what is holding you back about these online classes? And ask them. what's the fear here? What's the resistance here? Uh, why why is it that you feel that online classes are not going to be helpful? And they may have their reasons. So certain, reasons could be, well, I feel like the kids learn in person. Then you can talk about how the kids could actually learn online also. And it's a new, innovative way of learning too. And for them to really expand on their learning repertoire, learning it this way, learning it that way, and not just one dimensionally.
So
And to give it a try and see how it works.
yeah, no, I understand. And as an administrator, I have said that. As a teacher, I've also said that. Maybe you could help me with some of the wordings because I sometimes tend to I forget that the majority of our clients, their first language isn't really English. And I tend to then talk about learning styles, um, that for maybe the kinetic learner, the online platform isn't the best, but no one is, a completely kinetic learner versus the auditory learner versus the visual learner. We're all a combination. And that, in online, you have the teacher also already knows this generally about the kid, what kind of learner they are. But this then goes over the parents' head completely, and they just go, no, only in-person learning, that's the only thing that's good. So is there a way, as a behavior specialist, to sort of say these things to the parent that brings it in a realm that they can understand?
Well, I think when a parent is completely shut off and trying and unwilling to be open to new ways, as a teacher, there's really only so much you can do to convince them. So I think we need to come from a place where I understand, well, you got to let the parents know, I understand where you're coming from, but why don't we give it a try and see, because it's been really successful. So sometimes bringing in the learning styles, all that, it does go over their head because they're so set in their ways of their true belief on how a human being needs to learn. And if they see that the kid at home is playing a lot of video games, and then, okay, he's going to be on the computer, well, you can explain to them that it's a different types of learning where there's a lot of feedback given, whereas a video game is a very high rate of reinforcement where it's very much automatic. So it is a very difficult, not everyone's going to embrace online learning. And if you guys, out of 10 parents, you guys get 5, and that's where we are, because those parents themselves have never experienced it. So this is very new for them.
Okay. And like it,
Yeah.
no, like the learning style, but I also wonder if there's a way, because I assume as a teacher and as a person, that the consistency issue, because we do have this going on in Vienna, where we will have, say, 3 weeks where we are allowed to hold things in the building, and then there's a lockdown, and then it's 3-4 weeks maybe online, and then go back and forth and back and forth. I assume that the consistency of having the lessons, even if it is going from online to in person, is better than having lessons for 3 weeks, than having no lessons for 5. And then again, maybe twice a week to make up for 3, and so on and so forth, back and forth. Am I
I
correct?
think that's a perfect explanation that you could also give to the families about consistency. It's not all or none. We have to be flexible. We have to be able to adjust and show our kids that, hey, because we can't be in person, this is what we're doing for now. And it's when a parent can model that behavior of flexibility and being able to adjust to their surrounding, so you're not being a stick where it doesn't go that way, you'll just break. We're being the rubber bands. We can stretch this way, stretch that way. And so I think that's perfect, Kelly, how you can explain that to the families about modeling that behavior, flexibility, and being able to adjust to changes.
Right. Perfect. I do have a bizarre question about behavior issues during
Mhm.
online lessons. Um, In-person classes, it's very easy to do redirection when a child is distracted or gets off topic or something. It's a little harder for me as a teacher to do this in the online format. Um, Sometimes, and I also have several older students who attend their lessons online alone. Parent isn't there, and they play games. They turn their camera on and off. They turn the mute on and off. Um, and I, as a teacher, am still struggling to figure out a way to deal with that. Um,
Yeah.
if I yell at them over Zoom, it doesn't do much. If I ignore them, they've won. And
Yeah.
if I try too hard, then they think it's a game. So
Yeah. Right.
do you have any tips?
So as a teacher, someone like you, Kelly, who expects excellence, and you expect the same from yourself. So when you feel like you can't uh, reach into them and have them do the way they feel like they can be the best version of themselves, it can be so frustrating for the teacher, especially because you want the best for them. So in a case like that, I always suggest to just kind of pause and see, is this the struggle for you, or is this the struggle for the student? So if you as an instructor sense the struggle that's coming from you because you feel that they're not complying, then that's when you have to step back and you can really shape that little moment by bringing them back in and to see what they're doing. So for example, you're doing a lesson and the kid has a camera off. You may need to pause for that moment and say, and you yourself may be frustrated at the fact that the child is doing that. You may have to just pause and say, hey, I see the camera's off, and wait for that response for the child
Mhm.
to make that adjustment. It's not a perfect situation here because you are on one screen and the kid is on, and there may be a lot of distractions for the families. There are a lot of things that you can do prior to the lesson by having this conversation with the families about certain settings, what we can do to make it very inducive, make it very effective for their learning. Where TV's off. If they have computers, then it's put away. If they have games, it's put away. So all those things that you can do with the families, it's not going to be a lot of. Most often, parents are probably not even going to be around during the lesson. So we do need to take what we can get out of this very, very challenging times. But we need to just be able to build a relationship so the kid comes to you instead of seeing you as a punisher or somebody who is constantly reprimanding. Because the fact that they're even there and being able to engage in this moment is, we need to really honor that and embrace that moment, because what's the alternative? They just won't come.
Right.
Yeah. And the fact that they're there, even let's say in an hour, let's say you get them even 25% of their attention. Hey, I'll take it,
Yeah.
because that's better than nothing.
Exactly. Okay.
And it's that small percentage of you being able to teach them, engage with them. And if that's all you can get, I will be very grateful for that.
I
Right.
mean,
So it's really,
that really fits
yeah.
with what, because when I first launched Musical Munchkins and my whole original, ground floor began with Musical Munchkins with that idea. It is all about nurturing um, children, small children to adults, really. I just wanted to nurture people with music education. And that's what it
Yeah.
should be all
And
about.
sometimes it's not about the goal. It's not about, okay, we need to get to this piece and we need to do it right. It's not about that. Sometimes it's the process, it's the journey. And for me, during this time, if a kid can get online on time, or even 5 minutes late, whatever, we can get them there and we could have a little piece of ourselves into their lives to bring music in their hearts and in their homes, even if it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I think that is really, we need to be grateful for those moments.
And so this goes into my next question with the social interaction. Um, Due to the lockdowns, constant, um, a lot of kids don't get social interaction anymore. Uh, is it beneficial for them to do online classes to see other kids and interact with them, even in this online, I mean, for their own social health?
So basically, you're saying is, will this give them an opportunity to engage with other peers?
Exactly.
I think so, yes. I mean, if you can have four different kids kind of doing the same thing and they can share their challenges and struggles, hey, that's an opportunity. That's a forum that you're creating for that. Hey, you're not alone in this. We're all going through the same thing. And that in itself is very comforting.
Mhm.
Um, Again, this is where the families, about the social interactions, there's so much healthy social interaction that can happen in their homes. It's not always with peers. When a child is oriented towards the families, the parents, and they have that healthy opportunity, they're they will eventually go into the peers and be able to have plenty of those opportunities. But this is where they can really, really hone in on healthy relationship bonding with the families and with the online teachers. So again, it's a moment where we can really be in that present moment and appreciate it. And again, it's not about the goal, it's about the process and being able to have that opportunity as a gift.
Wonderful. I have taught all different ages online at this point. And I myself have never found the 2 and under crowd to be ever a difficulty, even online. But the other teachers have discussed with me how difficult they find it, and the parents who have attended classes other than my own have also talked about how difficult it is. Um,
Same thing for me here. I didn't find such a difficulty.
I didn't find it difficult at all, but again, I have a
For 2 and under.
I love the 2 and under crowd in general. So, and
Hmm.
I know myself that I
So
have
cute
a
to
tendency
look
to
at them.
bounce between the activities so quickly that like
Yeah.
barely anyone knows what's going on. But the other teachers have expressed this to me. Do you have any tips to keep for these teachers to keep them motivated and to keep the kids engaged? The 2-year-olds, I know they're hard to sort of keep engaged on that screen for an 25-minute lesson.
So, what makes you have it a lot easier for you to get them engaged?
I'm I tend to I tend to deviate from our original lesson plan a little bit.
Hmm.
I add
Hmm.
more songs. I
Hmm.
overemphasize everything with my face. I already have an expressive face and I overdo it for the 2-year-olds. And sometimes
Mhm.
if I see something's not going, I just scrap it and move on to something else. I
Mhm.
sometimes will add in more dancing um,
Mhm.
to the fact that I actually am standing and dancing with them. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
So
I
it seems like you're more animated. You are able to quickly transition from one instruction to another based on their interests, and you can sense that you're losing them. You're able to quickly, yeah. So that is definitely a very much of a gift that you have, and you're able to sense that. And if and sometimes the teachers, they again, teachers are not one size fits model either. Some teachers are able to deal with teenagers. Some kids have the gift, some teachers have the gift of working with younger ones. So sometimes you guys may need to kind of see what their gifts are and be able to organize it that way. But that doesn't mean that they can't learn. So there's got to be times when, Kelly, you may need to shadow or be able to model some of these challenges so that they can learn from you.
Yeah, this would be this would be put in a training manual. So when we are training teachers how to teach online and how to give great classes online, we have to, give them our experience. So you
Yeah,
have this.
there's got to be a little bit of a teaching component, but also sometimes, hey, let's invest them in their talents and what they're good at, right? And it's not always looking at their weaknesses, but they have their strengths and what they're good at too. And so, and if they're willing to learn and work on whatever
Mhm.
that they feel like they're lacking, then that's when you guys need to do that, the modeling and the shadowing.
okay. And I mean,
Right. Well,
that
like for example, one of our teachers, she's doing a fantastic figure that away.
yeah. No, it's more yeah, everyone has their strength and I agree. Um but is there a tip that you have to keep that younger audience engaged? It's a little it's different with every age group, of course. They have
Hmm.
their different
Hmm.
things that they can handle and do,
Hmm.
but of course, a 2-year-old is very different than a 3-year-old and very different than a 4-year-old and very different than a 12-year-old. But in those early years, the milestones that are passed and the understanding and the capabilities are just
Hmm.
so vast that
Yeah.
that's why I wonder if there's something specific that can help teachers as well as the parent to help
Yeah.
that child keep engaged during the lesson.
So it all depends. You'll have a 2-year-old who can really engage in online lesson, and then you have a kid who cannot. So if a kid, and a lot has to do with what they've been exposed to. Some families are so anti-screen, computer games and all that at such young age. Some parents are okay with that. So knowing that background, you can kind of gauge where the kid is what they're able to do. Now, in terms of their attention span, a 2-year-old's attention span is very short. If you can get 5 minutes, that's really the maximum you can get, you know? Yeah, 5 minutes. So, yeah. So think about, maybe every 2, 3 minutes being able to change, do things differently. I would say that's probably a very safe place to be. Every 2, 3 minutes, see if you can just kind of engage them in doing other things, whether it's movement, whether it's, uh, doing something with their hands, or them responding to you, or you're having them do something, So there's got to be a variability in the instruction for sure. Don't keep it the same.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, variability is key.
Okay, perfect. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, that was my question.
Good. Hmm. Okay. So, yeah, so I don't know how many people would be interested in asking questions, or, maybe we should just put this as a start for our live session. Maybe we should start doing this. What do you think about this? Maybe every 2 weeks or so, you know?
Yeah, I think it might be great for parents to post some of their questions, some challenging questions, whether it's with parenting, whether it's with having your child practice, how to get them motivated. I think all those questions are going to be really helpful for all families. So I think we can have an open forum, and we can create a day where, hey, at this time, everyone join in, and let's go ahead and come up with some questions, and I'll do my best in answering them. And
I
parents can hop on.
I think this is a really great idea because, I mean, sure, I don't think everybody's watching this live stream, not everybody, or very few people if they are. So this would be just as a start. But I really do think
Yeah.
that parents have tons of questions. And, we haven't really discussed this issue today, but we do have students who have learning disabilities. For example, they are, you know, some of our students have autism, and some of our, students have, how can I say, they're dyslexic, and so how would you deal with ADHD, students, so with the attention deficit disorder. And so, these are all
Mhm.
the subjects that so many parents, especially in Vienna or in Austria, this country, they really need so much help. Yeah, and they're just, I don't think, there are a lot of help around here. So
So
it'll
every
be really,
child with dyslexia, every child with autism, their needs are so different. So I think it would be really interesting. It will be a great idea to have this open forum for families, as a resource, and I can try my best to answer some of their questions,
okay. Okay.
because we must teach our children in the way that they are able to learn, versus having them learn our ways.
Yeah.
So for us, understanding their own their challenges and what they can and cannot do,
Yeah.
is a very important place for us to come from and be able to present an instruction that's going to work for them.
Mhm. Exactly. And, we have to also remind all our teachers and parents and families, everybody who have been participating in our musical munchkins, is that our principle is to nurture music, and that music is a lifestyle, and that, whatever the pace that our students have, whether they have learning disability or highly talented, gifted,
Hmm. Hmm.
we just want them to use music education as a tool for them to go far
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in their own way. And that's our main principle, and that's our main goal. And we have to, even me, myself, and other teachers, we have to constantly remind ourselves, don't forget, musical munchkins exist for that purpose, not the other way around. We're now training, students to become concert pianists or professional musicians. If they are, we will open doors for them.
Yeah,
But
and music is so therapeutic. And once it's in their hearts and in their lives, we want to make sure that it continues to be there. And it needs to be a very pleasant, pleasurable, joyful experience for them, rather than them kind of, pairing that with, oh, practice. Oh, the teacher being mean. Oh, I'm being reprimanded. Oh, the mom is yelling at me. So again, we want to be able to have music be a pleasant experience. And
exactly,
then
and
later on, as they get older and they are more disciplined, then they can, have a certain goal set for themselves. Hey, I want to be able to finish this piece. And again, we're teaching them grit, we're teaching them perseverance. but it's not just going to come just like that. That's only after they've established music as something really lovely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, so once again, for those who weren't here in the beginning or who haven't watched this at all, later you're gonna watch it. Elizabeth Kim is from California. She is a behavioral analyst, and she has worked with Los Angeles Unified School District, and she has worked with thousands of families with children that need help and guidance. So, okay, we should arrange this later
Yeah,
and
and I look forward to meeting all the families and
for, for parents to participate, right? Great.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So, thank you, everybody. And just a minute.